Black history is Ohio history, filled with stories of strength, sacrifice, and achievement. I'm Tracy Townsend with 10 TV in Columbus. Thank you for joining me as we look at just a few of those stories. Let's start at the beginning. Ohio was the first state formed out of the Northwest Territory. It entered the Union in 1803 as a free state where slavery was illegal.
Ohio was very unique when it came to the idea of freedom. We were the first state after the Northwest Territory was open to start the conversation of what it would look like for a white man and a free black person to live on one accord.
That is Rita Fuller Yates, a historian from Columbus. Ohio is bordered by Kentucky and West Virginia, both places where slavery was legal. Congress passed a law called the Fugitive Slave Act in 1850, making it a crime to help enslaved people escape. So even if they made it to Ohio, freedom was not guaranteed. Ohio became a major hub for the Underground Railroad. In Southeast Ohio, the Reverend John Rankin's house was one of the most active Underground Railroad stops in the state. Historians estimate more than 2,000 freedom seekers stayed there. If they saw a candle burning in the window, it was a sign the coast was clear. The Reverend Rankin lived just across the Ohio River from Kentucky. Take a look at this photo shared with us by the Ohio History Connection. You're looking at what's known as the Freedom Stairway. These stairs led freedom seekers from the banks of the river to the safety of Reverend Rankin's home. What we now know as Lucy Depp Park in Delaware County was another stop on the Underground Railroad. Abraham Depp, who had been enslaved in Virginia, bought that land in 1835. At night, he rang the all clear bell, signaling it was safe for freedom seekers to move on. Depp was also the first black person to own a farm in Delaware County. And the Burrell House in Sheffield Village was one of the final stops before freedom seekers reached Canada. Take a look at these photos from remarkableohio.org. The house is still listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The Kelton House in downtown Columbus was also a stop on the Underground Railroad. It was seriously damaged in November when it caught fire. Officials say that fire happened because of a gas leak and explosion. We spoke with two descendants of Martha Hartway, a freedom seeker from Virginia who lived at the Kelton House as a child. She was very sick when abolitionists Sophia and Fernando Kelton met her in 1864. Today, her story lives on through her family. Rosanna Penn Fields and Rosanna Bivens are her great-granddaughter and great-great-niece. They told us that with such deep personal ties to that history, learning about the fire was heartbreaking.
It was like having my home burning. That was my gut feeling right away. It was just, oh my goodness.
I couldn't believe it. I had a devastated feeling. And the first person I thought of was my Aunt Rosanna.
The Columbus Foundation says they are not planning to sell the property, but declined to comment on future plans, saying analysis is underway. You can learn more about the Underground Railroad at the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center. It's located in downtown Cincinnati, just steps away from the Ohio River, where so many risked their lives with the hope of finding safety and freedom. The Tuskegee Airmen were the first black pilots in the military, serving with distinction in World War II. After the war, many were stationed in Ohio at Lockbourne Army Base, which is now known as Rickenbacker International Airport. Today, their service and sacrifice are on display at Mott's Military Museum in Groveport.
That these people put their life on the line. And then when they signed up in the military, they signed up including giving their life if they had to.
For generations, black Ohioans have answered the call to serve, often fighting for freedoms they themselves were denied. This is the story of one veteran who carried that commitment from the front lines of the war to the towering trees of Sequoia National Park. Brigadier General Charles Young became the first black national park superintendent in 1903. General Young's parents escaped slavery in Kentucky, settling in Ripley, Ohio in the 1860s. His military service included combat in the Philippine-American War. He was also a professor at Wilberforce University, where he helped establish the marching band. And this is First Lieutenant John Robert Fox from Cincinnati. He was one of the first black soldiers to receive the Medal of Honor after sacrificing his life during a German attack in Italy during World War II. His actions saved the lives of fellow American soldiers and Italian civilians. And now we turn our attention to another veteran named Earl Mack. He's always answered the call to serve, from his time as a combat medic in the Army to volunteering with the Toledo Buffalo Soldiers. Here's Dan Cummins in Toledo with that story.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, sir.
Dead of winter, and the Toledo Buffalo Soldiers head out on the streets looking for the homeless.
Chicken noodle soup. Anybody? All right, you got it.
This is right in front of the Toledo Lucas County Library downtown, where many gather for the warmth.
All right, you going soup, sir? Yes. All right, I got yours coming up, buddy, okay?
The Buffalo Soldiers come out with warm soup.
How many soups? Anybody else want soup?
Coffee.
Anybody want coffee, mocha?
Socks.
Who needs socks? I got one sock. You got one sock.
Hats and overcoats.
But it makes you feel good that you're like an oasis, to them. When we pull up and you see they just gather around the truck.
After serving his country during the Vietnam era, Mack came home to work for TPD, starting a law enforcement career that lasted over 30 years, including Homeland Security in Ohio. Then he started a Toledo chapter of the Buffalo Soldiers in 2013. It's a motorcycle club named after the African-American horse soldiers of 1866. They have a storied history.
And them being the first marshals, U.S. Marshal Service along the borders, U.S. Border Patrol, first U.S. Border Patrols, protected Indian reservations, went after renegade Indians, went after outlaws.
Mack and his fellow soldiers make several appearances at schools around the year, feeding kids, filling in to help at father-daughter dances.
Are you all set then?
Toy drives over the holidays. Speaking about gun violence, anti-bullying, that is deeply personal to Earl as a father.
And kids are the heart of me. And one reason, a big reason for this too, I lost a 10-year-old son to gunshot, one gunshot in his chest. So that's why I do a lot of community service with kids. We have our gun program, the Eddie Eagle program, where we talk to small kids about if you see it, don't touch, run away, tell a grown-up, and those kind of things. And then the stuff we do, with just our teenagers.
And here we are, Black History Month, recognizing some of the great people that live alongside us. Earl Mack doesn't do these things for the recognition. He does it to help others. A life of service, deeds, not words. I'm Dan Cummins.
Well, some of the biggest names in sports history also made Black history at The Ohio State University. These athletes didn't just compete for the Buckeyes, they changed the game for the generations that followed.
I'm very glad to have won the 100 meters in the Olympic Games here in Berlin.
Jesse Owens was an Olympic track and field athlete. He joined Ohio State in 1933 and went on to become the first Black varsity team captain at a Big Ten college. He won 4 gold medals in the 1936 Summer Olympics, which were held in Berlin, Germany under Nazi reign. His granddaughter reflects on his bravery during that time.
As I got older, I had a better understanding of exactly what he did as a Black man in front of Hitler during Nazi Germany, and proving that Aryan supremacy was not valid. It doesn't matter where you come from or the color of your skin, that you can achieve. And I think he shows people what they can do.
Owens withdrew from OSU in 1941, and more than 30 years later, the university awarded him an honorary doctorate of athletics arts. The same year that Jesse Owens left Ohio State, another history-making athlete came to the university. Bill Willis was added to the Buckeyes football roster in 1942 by head coach Paul Brown. At that time, there were only a handful of black players in college football. He was a powerful blocker on offense and a relentless force on defense, helping lead Ohio State to a Big Ten title and a national championship. He went on to play 8 seasons with the Cleveland Browns. His son Clem says what his dad did off the football field was even more impressive.
What really brings a smile to my face is, the character that he exhibited, the man he was as a father, as a community servant, if you will, those kinds of things.
And of course, we can't talk about Black history at Ohio State without talking about Mr. Buckeye himself. We are talking about Archie Griffin. The former Ohio State running back is the only college football player to ever start in 4 consecutive Rose Bowl games and the only 2-time Heisman Trophy winner. He led the Buckeyes to 4 Big Ten championships before graduating and playing for the Cincinnati Bengals. 2 statues of him stand as a reminder of his legacy, one outside of the Rose Bowl Stadium in Pasadena and another at OSU. The Cincinnati native you're about to meet made history at Ohio State, this time on the golf course. He overcame incredible personal challenges, learning to navigate a loud world with quiet determination. Jeff Hogan reports in Columbus.
Leading us off at 8:10, Mr. Kevin Hall.
It's possible you've never heard Kevin Hall's name.
Kevin, you have the tee. Good luck today.
And since the age of 2, neither has he.
It can't be easy for him being a profoundly deaf person.
You heard that right. As his mom translates his story, Hall has been deaf since the age of 2. The medicine used to treat his meningitis saved his life, but stole his hearing.
I have a double whammy here. I'm black and deaf. Playing golf. That will always be my identity.
Hall accepts that identity, but has never let challenges derail his ambitions.
From tiny St. Rita's School for the Deaf in Cincinnati to giant Ohio State, Hall broke barriers, and not just for the hearing impaired. He became the first black golfer ever to play at OSU. And by his senior year, his game was doing all the talking, and everybody was listening.
Individual Big Ten champion on a 2004 conference title team, and soon he'd be on his way to the Advocates Professional Golf Association, the APGA, a tour that provides competitive opportunities for underrepresented golfers.
Does Black History Month mean more to you? Tiger was a role model, a hero. Do you have other heroes that you think about in a month like this?
Outside the golf course, you look at people like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, all the things that happened in 1930s and 1940s and 50s. The struggle they went through to make sure that life for us is a little bit easier today.
How proud were you to represent the U.S.?
Last summer, Hall won a silver medal in the Tokyo Deaf Olympics, calling it the opportunity of a lifetime.
I got on that first tee. They introduced me. I saw all of those people. They're clapping, they're waving their hands. All I know is it was one of the best experiences of my life.
Hall readily admits golf has given him everything, so now he spends time giving back to those who will come next.
I go hang out with kids. They ask me advice. They want to play with me. They want to learn. So I give them my time.
His time moves silently, but the roar of his accomplishments is thunderous.
The things I have done from the time I pick up the club up to now, it's amazing to look back and think about it. More to come.
Indeed. That was Jeff Hogan in Columbus. When you think of history at Ohio State, you might think of championships and trophies, but the students I'm about to tell you about made history in their own right. Dr. George Boston was a second lieutenant in the Army during World War II, but his service didn't stop there. He dedicated his life to dentistry, graduating first in his class from Ohio State. He became the first black dentist at the University Hospital, and in 1957, he was the first tenured black professor at the OSU College of Medicine. Jessie Stevens Glover once told a student journalist that the word can't isn't in the dictionary. Glover was the first black woman to graduate from the university in 1905, earning a bachelor's degree in modern language. And we want to take a moment to recognize a very special Ohio State graduate who will always be close to our hearts here in Columbus. Chuck White was a pioneer in broadcasting, spending 50 years right here at 10 TV as a reporter, producer, anchor, and public affairs director. He died last year at 90, but his legacy lives on in our newsroom and throughout our community. Black women in Ohio are responsible for shattering the glass ceiling and breaking racial barriers. They've showed strength and courage as they forged a path for the generations to come. One of those women is Dorothy Dandridge. The Cleveland-born actress was one of the biggest stars of her era, refusing to take roles based on race or stereotypes. In 1954, she became the first black woman nominated for the Academy Award for Best Actress for her role in Carmen Jones. She was also the first black woman featured on the cover of Life magazine. Dandridge was later portrayed in a movie by another Cleveland star, Halle Berry. Ellen Walker Craig Jones made history as one of the first black women elected to mayor in the United States. She won the seat in Urban Crest in 1972. Franklin County recognizes September 10th as Ellen Walker Craig Jones Day to celebrate her legacy. Known as the mother of the Columbus NAACP, Mamie Moore was a civil rights leader in Ohio. As a founding member of the organization, she worked alongside others to uplift generations of black families in Columbus. In a photo showing Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1963 delivering his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, you can see her marching on Washington by his side. Here's historian Rita Fuller Yates again.
She understood the direction that America was taking when it pertained to the black community as well as women. She wanted equality, so she became a leader. She was trying to be an example. It wasn't easy for any woman. I mean, we just started voting in 1920s, so she already understood. I think she was a visionary that understood that leadership required being an example of leadership, and she not only talked about it, she was being about it. And I think that's so big when it comes to being an effective leader.
Moore's name can be found at a park bearing her name in King Lincoln, Bronzeville. And a trailblazer in pharmacy and civil rights now has a permanent place in Ohio history. Last summer, Toledo's alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated unveiled an Ohio historical marker honoring Ella P. Stewart. She was one of the first black women to become a pharmacist in the country and a lifelong advocate for education and equality. And history is being made today in Columbus. For the first time since its founding in 1948, a black woman is leading the Boys and Girls Club of Central Ohio. Rhea Cunningham sat down with Angela Ann to share why this new role is deeply personal.
So we're here at Milo Grogan Boys and Girls Club with Rhea Cunningham, the first black female CEO to lead the organization. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Rhea Cunningham is all smiles, anticipating what's about to walk through these doors. Tell me what happens at about 2:33 p.m.
Oh, it's a cacophony. The energy is unreal. So my office is just on the other side of that mirror, and there are days where all I hear is or I mean, just joy, right? And fun and laughter.
It's an energy that goes beyond providing after-school fun or education. The Boys and Girls Club of Central Ohio is a place of safety for kids who often feel the weight of the world on their tiny shoulders.
All of our programming and our engagement strategy is rooted in trauma-informed care. And so we're mindful from the moment a young person walks in the door that they're welcomed warmly by name, a handshake or a hug, a high five, whatever the norm is at each club, to just open up the club to say, you're welcome. This is safe. Come on in.
Your family history, unfortunately, had to witness some of this violence early on yourself. Sure. How much of what happened to your family do you take with you
in what you're doing today?
My younger brother died of gun violence. It would be 30 years this year. He was 11 years old. And after his transition, we came to learn that he was navigating a lot of what we were just talking about earlier, bullying. It pricked in me an awareness of, wow, there's a lot of hurt in the world. And our young people need support.
That realization led Ria's journey full circle to where she is today, helping youth develop into their full potential.
So when you see other 11-year-old boys walking around, I'm sure you're saying, David, this is for
my
you.
goodness. Oh my goodness. And there are some of our young men who come through and I'm like, you look just like my little David.
Ria says she now gladly carries the weight and responsibility of being the first Black woman leading the Boys and Girls Club of Central Ohio.
First, a humility. Wow, that's me. Gosh, who'd have thunk, right? And then an honor, right, that I get to do this work. It's incredible.
Angela Ann, 10 TV News.
Invention, innovation, two words that help define the legacy of Black Ohioans. Now we introduce you to a few visionaries whose breakthroughs in technology helped make our world safer for all of us. Granville Woods founded his electric company in 1880, famously inventing the induction telegraph. It revolutionized railway safety by using voice over the telegraph wires to send messages between moving trains. And here's a name you may not know, but his invention touches your life every single day. Garrett Morgan is the brain behind the modern traffic light we use today. He created the prototype of the three-way traffic signal in the 1920s, eventually selling the rights to the device to General Electric for $40,000. He was also the first Black person to own a car in Cleveland. And now we turn to the story of a physicist from Cleveland who spent decades helping others reach for the stars at NASA. Then he was given the chance to quite literally light the way in a moment few people will ever experience. Leon Bibb reports in Cleveland.
A man on the run. For decades it has been the routine. Dozens of marathons, and today 5 miles on the treadmill. In 2001, Greater Cleveland physicist Dr. Julian Earls, then deputy director at NASA Glenn Research Center, and soon to be its director, heard his phone ring. The caller identified themselves as from the U.S. Olympic Committee. Knowing Earls' passion for running, the voice invited him to serve as an Olympic torchbearer, carrying the flame on its journey to the 2002 Salt Lake City Winter Olympics.
I thought my buddies were playing a joke on me, so I didn't respond.
Laughing it off, Julian Earls returned his focus to his high-level work at NASA Glenn and to his daily running. Then the Olympic Committee called again. This time, no joke. Earls had been nominated by someone he did not know, someone who heard him deliver an inspirational speech in California and believed his story deserved to be carried forward.
I was just humbled by the opportunity.
The Olympic flame began in Greece before making its way to the United States, passed from hand to hand by 12,000 runners. On January 1st, 2002, Earls put on an Olympic Committee-provided outfit, braved the bitter cold, and was given the heat.
I think it was 2 below zero or something like that. This is me taking the torch from East 9th Street running towards Public Square, because that was the route I took.
Today, among his souvenirs at home are the official running suit and the torch itself.
Kind enough to let everyone who carried the torch keep the torch, and it is capable of being lit again, but I've never done that. All right? All right.
At NASA Glenn Research Center, physicist Dr. Julian Earls spent 40 years, the last 2 as director. He supported space missions for Apollo 13 through all the space shuttle launches, while he worked on the ground so that others could reach the stars. Now retired at age 83, Earls still looks to space and to the road of life stretching ahead, remembering the winter of 2002 and how the flame found him.
Someone once wrote, "You cannot hold a torch to light a pathway for others without brightening the pathway for yourself." Dr. Julian Earls certainly understood that in 2002, carrying the Olympic torch. But not only that, he understood it as a philosophy of life, brightening his own pathway along with that of others.
Give of yourself whenever you can in a way that you can, you will find yourself rewarded in far greater proportion than you've given.
Moving portrait of Julian Earls, who was not in the Olympics, but who ran for them, lighting the way. For 3 News, I'm Leon Bibb.
Thank you so much for being with us for this celebration of Black history in Ohio. The stories we highlighted represent just a fraction of the impact Black Ohioans have made and continue to make across our communities. Because Black history is Ohio history and it's still unfolding. I'm Tracy Townsend in Columbus. Thank you.